Hey guys, and welcome to a patch first look. Of course, these might change, but it kinda show what the patch is going to be and at least tries to be. Anyhow, without further ado, let's get started. So these are the upcoming positioning changes, card updates, avatars, and emotes in the future patch. First of all, we got the emotes. Of course, you can say thanks, swagger, praise, rage, critique, and menace. Not bad at all. Alright, you can just... Sounds great. I wonder if Reveal New card will be any good. And yep, the board is updated. It's gonna be different. And we're gonna have a new card history as well. That we didn't have before. You could only see the last card played. So that's a... Well, I don't know if this will be the last... Well, they definitely want to improve it further, so... But that looks okay to me, definitely. So positioning changes. So now you can place units at anywhere instead of just on the right. You can just place it anywhere, and that will obviously matter. For example, this potion, you target one unit, and that unit and the units to the left and right of it get 4 strength. So this is a 12-point swing. Pretty good, I must say. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see this in many decks pop up. And the Manticore potion is basically the opposite of it. That does 4 damage to one unit, the center one, and 4 damage to the one on its side as well. So these are 12-point swingers in the neutrals. That's pretty good. I would very much suspect... I suspect that we're gonna see these cards a lot. The Humanitarian Boom got a little bit nerfed. Instead of affecting the whole row, it's gonna affect only 5 units. And you just target at the center, and from the center it's gonna affect 2 swings to the left and 2 to the right. And Commander's Horn, again, it's only gonna affect 5 units. You target the middle, and 2 to the left and 2 to the right. So it's the 20-point swing. I don't know. I'm like, it looks like Thunderbolt Potion is gonna be a lot easier to pull off than the Commander's Horn. So you really only gonna use Commander's Horn if you really wanna buff up units and you're just spamming like crazy. But I don't know. Would you really go for that with the Dima Bomb? Perhaps not. Geralt got a little nerfed. Instead of choosing 3 units, it's gonna work by the same principle. You're just gonna select one unit in the center, and you're just gonna push that unit and the unit to its left and right back 1 row. So I don't know. Geralt, it's a little bit lost its place in the meta, so to speak, because with the weather change, that like there are no multiple weathers coming down in one turn, you can't really punish your opponent that much anymore. Because that was the thing, you just like play crazy weather. Yes, Ragnarok is still in the game, but other than that, you might just play a weather and your opponent play clear skies and you did nothing. The best way to use Geralt currently is that you just like spam fog with foglets and shove some melee units in it. But not everyone uses a lot of melee units. Geralt is definitely a good guy to go for if you're just starting out. It's a good budget choice with a weather deck. Other than that, I don't know. Probably wouldn't run it. Zoltan! Hey Zoltan, my good friend. Anyway, we got Zoltan and he can just... He's pretty good. He can just buff up a lot of units. This is 1 plus 8 plus 4 units to its left are gonna get buffed up by 2. So it's a 15-point swing. And if you send it in, it's gonna be of course a 13-point swing. So it's okay. So Zoltan is okay. Of course, it was gonna have an extra synergy with dwarves. So that's always good. Even more so because the dwarves really benefit from the buffs. So the Vran only is gonna eat units to its right. So right is where the spawn units come out, and left is where you can just place units. But anything that spawns automatically gets placed on the board, gets put on the right. So yeah, Vran because of that got a little buff. Not because of that actually, the Neckers got nerfed. But we're gonna get to that. So Hawker Healer, big nerf. Instead of just crazy buffs, it only just a 4-pointer with 3 points, 3-point buffs on both sides. So that's nice. Still good combo with dwarfs, but I don't know how popular this unit will be. It's still good. It's a 10 pointer. And you only need 2 cards on the board on the same row to get value out of it. So I would say I expect a lot of play from it. Still, the previous version was really good. Like better than 2 gold cards combined good if unanswered. In the right situations, of course. Italy. So yeah, so she doesn't have a timer anymore. And lock or unlock a non-gold unit on the battlefield, or non-gold units adjacent to it. So the same thing, you just you can lock 3 units. But I don't know how good she will be. She's just a 6-pointer, and there are other lockers in the game. It's Cleaver and Ox. As far as I know, Cleaver has 7 strength and Ox has 9. We'll get to it later. And they only lock 1 unit, but they're silvers. So, in order for Itleen to be useful, then the enemies need to play a lot of units that worth locking, and they need to play it somewhat next to each other. So we just gotta see about that. Perhaps the ships or the ships from the Skellige, the Dinky ships that shoot when they discard. Also the Mangonos with Nilfgaard. Perhaps those. I mean, like, you need to lock key units that would get a lot of. Because if you just want to lock one unit, maybe a lock will be very useful, and I could definitely see that happening. Maybe she's just gonna be an auto elite because she just locks. And it doesn't take a lot to make lock worth it. So we just have to see. Toruviel, a little nerf. Instead of buffing up a whole row by 2, she only buffs up the right 2 units and the left 2 units by 2. So, she's at most a 14 pointer, but yes, I don't know. She's gonna still good in the right deck with the dwarfs. You wanna buff with the dwarfs. Also, you just don't know. I mean, like, the ambush cards always have a certain like surprise factor to them. You just don't know what you're up against. I mean, they might just play around the Toruvia, and it was a Kieran all along. Big surprise. So Leto got maybe buff, probably nerf. So he can target 4 guys. It eats 2 to the right and 2 to the left, like anything else. But you don't choose who you eat anymore. But maybe people won't spam on the rows as much anymore. Still, I would suspect this is gonna be a nerf most of all. You can eat 1 more, but you can't choose who you eat. It's gonna be a buff if the opponents don't play a lot of units. But if they do, actually you might also have your spies on the board, and you might want to get them back separately, so your Leto doesn't get... If the Leto gets removed, you have your strength distributed a little bit. So I would say this is most likely a nerf. But could potentially feel like a buff sometimes. Still, it's good to see that Leto is still gonna be very relevant. Clan Tordarok Armor Smith is simply just resets 4 units to his left instead of just resetting the whole row. And I would say this guy is ridiculous. He's just, I don't know what to make of him. Weather immune that saves guys from the weather and gives you strength. Like, where can I sign up for that? I don't really play Skellige, but that's a really good card. So balance changes. Residence now only lasts 1 turn. That of course affects the dwarfs. The gold cards like Triss and Vernon Roche and Yorvet will no longer be able to target other gold cards. That's very... So, like those cards and no other gold cards can... gold cards are now safe cards. Unless they get shackled or debombed. They cannot be targeted by other cards. By themselves. So that's a very important change. So you can just play a Jennifer Conjurer or a Ciri without the fear of like she's getting sniped by a Yorvet. And that's gonna be a big thing. I really like this change. Also, lock disables abilities of the card even in the graveyard. So if you, for example, lock Morgwarg, then he's just gonna stay in the graveyard. That's pretty good. And you can also unlock units with the lock. So that's that just makes lock even more important. And that's probably gonna make it lean. Maybe even less valuable than the other silvers because she possibly can't target your own row. It's to unlock them, just in case. If you might want that. So I very much expect to see some lockers in the game. Anyway, Jennifer the Conjurer, remove 1 strength from the strongest opposing non-god unit, dies a result randomly, instead of just hitting 2 at the same time. And I do want to see this with the burn effects as well. I mean, those burn effects are crazy. And I've seen on the forum that they are thinking about changing Villain Mert. And I say that finally, Villain Mert is a neutral unit, neutral legendary, that is key to many type of factions, key to their strategy. Like, that is just ridiculous. Like many Scoia'taels and Northern Realm made their key win condition 1 card. Just play a bunch of gold next to it and just burn everything else down. So yeah. So Jen the Conjurer, obviously she's not gonna be an auto-include anymore. And might be still an okay-ish budget choice, probably wouldn't see her a lot. I mean, she's not gonna be great. She's gonna be still good in the right circumstances. For example, with the X-Men, especially that now she can't be sniped by Yorvet or Radovid. She can be relied upon to continuously zap. And for that, she's gonna be excellent. For that alone, she's gonna be excellent. And also, she works well with burn effects. So if you happen to have... So if you run an X-Men Skellige that also has a Geralt Igni, she's your girl. That's all I could say. I mean, like, I see that on Reddit, some people criticize that she's not gonna be as generally useful as before. But she's definitely, in one deck, she's gonna be definitely useful. I don't know. We just have to see. But I know for a fact she's gonna be great in X-Men. So, and that's good enough. At least under my criteria. If she was useless in every single deck, then no. She would need a buff. But in a certain circumstances, that is the X-Men Skellige, she's a good card. And maybe some other opportunity will rise in the future where she can be a good card. And yeah, she has a good effect. Anyway, Vesemir, Lambert, and Esco got nerfed. Now they over provide 16 strength, and I must say this is a very reasonable change. Because you're still gonna get 14 strength from them, and thin your deck by 2 cards. Of course, they make the mulligan phase a little bit more awkward, but not too much. Way too awkward. Still, I don't know. I would still expect to see them. I don't know. Maybe this is enough to discourage their use, but I think this is just more likely to like make them more reasonable right now. Maybe they won't be used if the faction has a lot of bronze thinners in them, but they also provide tempo. They don't provide as much tempo anymore though, and tempo was big part of their, well, the Crones are the other thing. Tempo is ridiculously important. You can just slam this down and the opponent needs to like 2 for 1 you for it. And you also thin your deck, and that's pretty good. Sir Dash got a little bit nerfed, and this is a bit odd. I'm not sure what to make of this. I mean, like, as I see it, if Siri Dash sees play, then the meta has decks that just almost eliminate the randomness factor in them. They just go through their whole deck, put Siri Dash at the bottom, draw a Siri Dash, then put Siri Dash again at the bottom. I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of this nerf, but it's very minor. Doesn't matter that much. Also, Slam Fruits Tremors. Remove 1 strength from a random opposing unit, non-goal unit, 8 times. So that's gonna be crazy with the X-Men. X-Men are coming back. Like, they were already really good. Some players really dropped them after they got a little bit nerfed, but they're coming back. Damn. Oh. Oh. So this apparently this tooltip is wrong. No, never mind that. Whatever. Still, I still fully expect the X-Men to come back. Actually, they were very common even in this meta, in the top 200. I think the highest I've seen was like a 20-something guy. Like, well, that's not too bad for a deck that almost no one used. Anyway, Mahakam Defender went from 4 strength to sticking around 3 rounds to 5 strength and sticking around to 2 rounds. I don't know. I mean, like, obviously you need to buff him up. Ideally, it would be the best if you could pump him up to 8. So, if you could do that, that would be very good. But at the very least, you wanna just play one, then buff them up right away, so they don't get Ulcer Standard. Because that is the big thing. You can definitely play with dwarfs. And of course, this is gonna make them stronger if your opponent passes. Because many times what the dwarf deck saw is that possibly the opponent passed the first round against them. Because it was just like they just played like the Witchers, and they wanted to play all the dwarves, and they plan to play everything and buff them all up. It would often lead to a pretty crazy first round. But now, I don't know. We just have to see how it works out. Overall, I would say this is a nerf, but makes the game more makes more sense. Like resilience. It's just now an effect that sticks around for 1 turn. Zoltan Chivaj. So overall it's a 14-pointer. But I don't know. Like I suppose he still gets affected by the dwarf buffs. Because 14 point is not that ridiculous. Of course you might even draw into him in the last round. That's pretty bad. If he still gets affected by the dwarf buffs, as I suspect he is, then it's pretty good, but still. I'm like, 14 point is not that crazy for a gold card. I'm like, yes. But still, it's just not too crazy. Like, for example, Geralt is a 12 point, and no one uses him because he's crap. And I would really like if the vanilla, vanilla cards would be like competitive with the special cards. Not just like, hey, we have a 10-pointer silver card. Like, of course, no one will ever use that. Come on, it's complete garbage. the real silver cards that get used usually have like 12 to 14 points of power, or more situationally more. And yeah, no one will use a 10-pointer. So Glaze, resurrect a non-god special card from your graveyard, and she's no longer redless. And that's just a buff for 8-nay. Other than that, it really doesn't matter. But at best, what you can do, like, replay her for replaying a silver card, silver special card. It's not too big of a deal. You've got changes! Alright, so we got the Rot Tosser, who tosses in and got 2 strength, but instead, the Cow Carcass Now it takes 2 turns to activate. I don't know what to make of that. The thing is, some factions have really good counter deck Call Carcass. Like for example, the thing that no one uses, the Nausicaa Brigades, for example. Just hit the Call Carcass for a strength boost, and that's a really good counter. Or for example, the Clown Borgwarg Archer in Skellige can just target this and just kill it for 1, and it's awesome. But others really struggle. So I just find these Rotdusters very... I like this, they won't be even too inconsistent, but somewhat inconsistent, because their effect really swings. If you're up against a Skellige, then they are a 4-point guy, but now it's gonna be a 6-point guy. But even like that, I suppose the cow will take 1 shot, so they will become a 7-pointer guy, but still, they are definitely great, and they are definitely popular in the community, and I definitely see why. Still, they're good. We just have to see how it works out, like after 2 turns. But that's the only change. So one turn slower, but 2 strength higher, and I think this might even work out as a buff if you played smart. Because you're gonna get a smarter guys. You're gonna have bigger guys. Of course, not when your opponent can pass. If your opponent can pass, then you just play this guy and he's 5 points. And opponent might just pass. And that is definitely what you need to watch out for. But if your opponent can pass and he doesn't have good answers, then he's probably not gonna draw into any good answers. You're just gonna fuck him over. Especially if you have like lasers and like Altus Thunders and like Myrtle Brake, just to set it really up. And it still kills units, so that's just ridiculous. So you can still combine it with Aeromancy just to reduce a row to 1 strength, and the cow is gonna activate the same turn, and they're gonna get wrecked. The cow activates on their turn. So yeah, maybe it would be if they really wanted to nerf it. No, this is more of a change, but if they really wanted to nerf it, I believe they should just make it so that at the end of the turn, destroy the weakest. It should really activate at the end of the opponent's turn. That would really nerf it. Instead of just... Because sometimes you just can really cheese them. You just throw in the cow and like weather their whole row, and the cow is gonna activate with them having like 1 strength units on the entire row and gonna kill everything. And they didn't have the option to answer it. So if the cow activated that at the end of their turn, then they wouldn't need this 2-turn timer. I just thought, Kahir? I will check this out. If your opponent has not passed, enable your leader for use, and your opponent draws the top bronze card in their deck and reveals it. Well, obviously they want to move away from effects that benefit from both players, but potentially only benefits you. And that was Kahir. Not only sometimes your opponent didn't get to use his hero power, but sometimes his hero power was not useful to him anymore. And they really want to move away from that. And there are a lot of effects in the game like that. So, but like this, if your opponent has not passed, enable your leader to use, and your opponent draws a bronze card in their deck and reveals it. And so this, he also synergizes well with reveal decks. And overall, how worthy is your hero power? I would say Kahir is really, really good still. Because even if you're talking about more like Morven, you're like choosing from 3 cards is definitely better than just you're probably gonna pick a silver or a gold even, or just a bronze that just really fits, and it's gonna be a lot better than just a random. So it's gonna be at least a 12 or 14 point card. And so this is really good, really, really good. And the reveal. So yeah, I mean, like, I would be surprised to not see this get run in every single deck, they might just bump it down to like 9 or 8. Possibly that would be too much. 8 is the most I can imagine from it. Maybe 9. For 10, I think it's pretty good. Also, you gotta think about this bronze card because now this is an extra value because bronze card actually thins their deck. And you actually take out a card that is not too useful, and their future draws will be a little bit better. And that is something you gotta keep in mind. If your opponent has not passed, enable your leader. So you can only, and actually that, no, never mind. That 10 point is very well justified because if it only works if your opponent has not passed. So if you're playing Kahir when your opponent passed, he's just a 10 point gold. So Kahir for 10 points, pretty good. Also, you gotta keep in mind that so with this bronze card mechanic, so that you draw them a bronze card, you still wanna play Kahir a little bit later. Because possibly they don't have a bronze card, because it doesn't say that you know they must have a bronze card. If they go through their whole deck and you gotta make them draw a bronze card, but they don't have a bronze card, then yeah, it doesn't matter. But if you make them draw early, then they're gonna get a bronze card for sure, and their future draws will be better, and they are not gonna be dead. So you still might wanna play it early. Oh, I mean like late, but you might wanna play it early if that is just important. Kahir, I just say it's really interesting card, and it's also an epic, and it's just a must-have in the Nilfgaard, in my opinion. Emissary, look at the top bronze units in your deck. Play one and place the other back randomly in your deck. So it just got out the random card before, but now you can actually choose between two, and that's always cool. So, well, before this change, it only saw play in the Calvate deck, with getting back the spies, because it is basically a negative value. You give away 2 value to thin your deck by 1 card, and like, okay, like, but with the Calvate you can get him back, so it usually worked out fine. But with this, it is gonna see play in the possibly in reveal decks as well, because you know if you want to fish for like a specific unit to enable your strategy, like the Mangonel, then yeah, you can just gonna use this guy, and you can always just go just emissary into emissary into emissary into Mangonel. So you just not only thin your deck, but then you just get out the units you want. But of course, if you're like playing I don't know, like an Embier, then you will like really pay for the stat that you give away. Like giving away 6 stats to thin your deck by 3 cards potentially. It is pricey, but still, it's just a straight up buff for Calvate decks. But does enable other decks to use it as well. Assassination, that crappy card before, is now a silence and a destroy. Lock and destroy an opposing non-god unit. A locked unit loses all tokens, resilience, quen, etc. And its ability does not trigger while it remains on the battlefield or in the graveyard. So not only gets locked and destroyed, but stays locked in the graveyard. I could see this card getting used. Like obviously, like it doesn't take a lot to make this worthwhile. Especially if like it's some kind of a special card that not just has a lot of strength, but also, like for example, even if you use it against an X-Men that has like 20 strength, you lock it and send it in the graveyard, and it's still locked in the graveyard, so the Skellige can't resurrect it. I could see this card getting used, and it's also more importantly an epic. So with Kahir and Assassination, it needs to be kept in mind because a lot of players, myself included, are broke as heck, and they don't have a lot of cards. But if you just wanna make a budget Nilfgaard, then you can just use Kahir and Assassination, and I do have Assassination, I just found it. And this is a card that they can definitely get value out of. Of course, may not work in every single meta. Unlike Kahir, that character can be really good in basically any meta, and it's really fun to use. Assassination only really works if they are playing like the big guys, or those who are just have the big abilities. So yeah, but this is definitely a good card to go for right now. Before that, it was really bad. Cantarella changed from 6 strength and gained 6 buff on the opposing side to 12 strength and lose 6 when it's now spying. Pretty good. I mean, like, obviously you can't debomb it on the opposing row anymore. And the thing is with the old Cantarella is that she actually lost 6 when she got returned back. So if she was debombed, then you return it back, then she actually died. Despite having 6 base strength, so that was odd. I don't know, this is gonna be fine. Like, this is a minor change, but it's more of a bug fix than a serious consideration. She will usually not get debombed. Anyway, Albrecht. If your opponent has not passed, draw a card, then your opponent draws a card and reveals it. Now, I always like this guy less than Cynthia, who is 1 less strength but gives your opponent a golem. It's the same thing. Looks like it is just gonna be a thing, that any effects that benefits both players must benefit both players. Because they don't wanna do that like, you know, they're just gonna stall out the game. It's like round 3, you're barely winning, but you have card advantage. Then you're just gonna slam down these effects that should benefit both players, but only gonna benefit you. And you're just gonna get crazy cards, and you're gonna win for sure. If your opponent has not passed, draw a card. Then your opponent draws a card and reveals it. So that's it. And this is a lot less valuable, because now, I don't know. I don't think this is really good. So it's a 9-pointer. It was like pays like 1 stat for the reveal. Like it's worth like 1 point. And draw a card. The thing is, this also gives your opponent a real card and thins their deck by 1 card. But also have to keep in mind such effects like anything that makes your opponent draw a card. Like that just kind of prevents him from thinning his deck too much by intentionally. For example, well, this is a pretty big topic, but let's just go into it. So for example, like you draw into 10 cards. Your deck is 10 cards at the start of the game, and you draw into 3 more cards as the game progresses. So then you have 25, and you have 25 cards in your deck. But if you run cards that like thin your deck, like for example first light, and you rally with the first light and get out a bronze, that means your deck is smaller, and you can at most thin it by 12 cards. But if for example we are considering Avalak, well, 12 cards if you don't add cards to your deck. And for example, like Johnny adds a card to your deck, and Siri Dash adds a card to your deck. But you should never add more than 25 cards to your deck. You should always have a 25 size decks. Now the thing is with this, if you're facing a lot of draw card decks that makes you draw a card, then you need to be careful with the thinning, because if you thin your deck by 12 cards every time, like for example the discard Skellige, you often run into problems. For example, when I faced it with a monster deck, I just made them draw a card, but they didn't have cards anymore. So they got nothing. I got 2 cards, they got nothing. They didn't have cards anymore, so you gotta be careful how much you thin your deck. And of course, reveal is not too useful, so you gotta watch out with Albrecht. And I assume, like, Albrecht is just an example here, because a lot of cards, every single card like this, will work in the same way, at least in time, that if both players should get an advantage, then it only works if if the opponent has not passed yet. So the crones change from crones change to from 877 to 766, and that 100% makes sense. I don't know if this is even like this, they're gonna be run. They're just too good. Like, look at that. That's 12, 19 strength. 19 strength with 1 silver. That also thins your deck by 2. Maybe if the bronze card thinners are very efficient. I don't know. We just have to see. But it's also a really good tempo swing. Because if you play 19 points, then your opponent needs to play at least 2 cards to come back into it. So in a way, if you can use that tempo, then it's a card advantage as well. And that's just really good. And of course the thinning. It's just a really powerful first round, and winning the first round is always very important. So the neckers are no longer breedable like they used to be. So that's gonna be a big thing. So you're only gonna have 3 neckers. That's not a whole lot. And I used to hate running these things. Because sometimes you just draw into them accidentally. Yuck. I don't know. We just have to see. But I suspect the Consume Masters will not like these guys as much as they used to. Above the Ice Giant, he also gains 5 strength when he gets placed in Frost. And not only when Frost plays, but also he gets +5 when a Frost plays on him. But of course this is green strength. So that can be debuffed. Still, it's a buff. You don't have to play the Ice Giant like early, then possibly play other stuff, and end up losing a Frost Giant because he was not the last played. You can just slam the Frost Giant down last, and you can have a 12-point of silver, which I must say is still not that great, but still he's weather immune. So overall, he's maybe, I don't know. I could see him being useful. Nitro? Now that's a very important number. If he was 7, I would say garbage. If he was 6 before, and at 6 he's just gonna get Ulcer Thundered every single time. At 7 he gets Ulcer Thundered every single time. But at 8, I don't know, maybe. So he hits for 2 every single time a Wild Hunt unit appears on your side. That's not so bad. If you played with the Riders, it's gonna be a 14-pointer. And there are many other Wild Hunt units. Also, he is Frost immune. So, Nitro? 8-point Nitro? It's like twice as good as a 6-point Nitro. If you can combo it correctly. But on its own, well, it's kind of crap. But still, it's not too bad. It's just not a completely dead card. Drog. So instead of that fancy effect, now he removes 1 strength from a random opposing non-gold unit 7 times. And this is a fairly generalist effect and very strong one. For example, if your opponent plays an Arquist, you're just gonna slam down Drog and kill it? Like, what the hell? I mean, like, he's a 14-point swing that also is brutal in weather. Not only can just snipe guys up to 7 strength on his own, but also, if you play, for example, Ragnarok, and your opponent doesn't have an answer at least right away, you're just gonna jog and kill everything. I don't really like this. For 2 reasons. I scrapped Drog because he was garbage, and now I don't have him, and now he looks like an auto-include. And I don't like it because he looks like an auto-include. So, that's it. It needs to change. I mean, like, this effect might seem like weaker than Yorvet's effect, or I don't know. Like, Vernon Roche, like, does 7 strength, does 4 damage. Like, Triss, I believe 8 strength, does 4 damage. Yorvet, 6 strength, does 6 damage. But this guy, 7 strength, does 7 damage. How the freaking hell does that add up? It doesn't. Like make him 5 strength does 7 damage, but not like this. Even like doing it in small portions 7 times, that's a lot more valuable. Make him a 5 strength do 7 damage. Like, fine, I'm fine with that. Or whatever, but I don't know. I just feel like this guy's gonna be too strong. Not like Weather is too strong right now because since Weather changed, like the killing people in the Weather is not as hip anymore because, well, Weather changed in two ways. You can't Weather 2 rows anymore unless you do it with Ragnarok, but also there are many good counters for it. Like for example that Armor Smith guy who just Weather immune and saves others from the weather. That's just crazy. Anyway, Bloody Baron. Only changes is that these are fleeting, so you can resurrect them. Poor Bloody Baron. It's all big changes. And now he went from like auto include every single time to the from being a counter of Caretaker to like, I don't know what he's trying to do with him. Some kind of buff strategy. If he plays this guy, then he just insta dies to any of the free damage dealers that are popular and commonly run. If he plays this, actually this is basically a dwarf, right? This is basically a dwarf. And that also insta dies. But not against all, so this could be okay. Like this could get buffed up. So I would say like this might see some play, but Lubberkin is a bit greedy. Like 5 strength, 5 damage is a bit harder to do than 3, but 3 is very easy to do. In most decks, even more passive decks. Dijkstra, or how is he's called, look at the all gold cards in your deck, play 1, and place the others back randomly in your deck. And I believe he combines well with some other card, but let's not jump ahead. On its own, I would say, unless you have a specific gold card in mind, you probably don't want this guy. Because he might be the last gold card you draw into, or you might draw into all the gold cards right away, or... Of course he combines well with Johnny, just putting an extra gold card in your deck, or possibly replacing him. So if you want to run him, you definitely want Johnny. Just to replace him or put an extra gold card in your deck. I could see that work. Or very specific gold card. Of course you give away 2 strength to get that very specific gold card. So that very specific gold card must very specifically fit your circumstances. And I would very much recommend Johnny. And if you can make it work that you get 5 gold cards out of him, now that's more like it. Philippa. You may play a special card from your hand. If you do, draw a card afterward. That's interesting. So she's kind of like a Glaze, but instead of playing stuff from your graveyard. By the way, I believe First Light is fleeting now, so you can replay First Light. Now, like, specifically you will not do that anyway, because that's only a bronze. But you may play a special card from your hand. So she's a Glaze that plays from your hand instead. And also thins your deck. Because you're not replaying a card, you're playing a card and redrawing instead. So it's a good way to thin your deck. I would say it's a pretty good card. Would consider it a budget auto include if she wasn't legendary. Of course, depends on what kind of cards you play. So if you're running some silver, like good silvers, then she could really work. But again, thins your deck, so I could see her being used. She's just generally useful, unless you're not really running special cards a whole lot. Radovid, I believe, well, remove or strength from non-gold unit and lock or unlock it. I believe his power is still getting looked into, but the locking effect is, I believe, is pretty good. Maybe it would be best if he had something you need, but I don't know if it needs to be. A lock and unlock looks cool. So if you want to lock her, he could be your man. Anyway, 4 strength, Well, it does seem a little bit low. But probably shouldn't be like up to 8. Maybe like 6 or 7. That should be more like it. And that could really make it work. Maybe like 7. Maybe even 8. But, you know, you really wouldn't want like your Nitro getting sniped by Radovid. So maybe the 8 range should be the, hey, it's safe. I don't know. They can definitely bump him up to 6 at least. 6 or 7. John Natalis, 6 power, add 3 strength to a non-gold unit on your side, then 2 to a non-gold unit on your side, and then 1 to a non-gold unit on your side. Yeah, this looks pretty lazy. I mean, like, not only he's just a 10 pointer, like a 12 pointer, that gives half of its strength as green buff to a unit that already needs to be in play, but 1 unit is enough. Why would you run this guy? Okay, he's an epic. Like, he's cheap. But, like, let's compare him to Geralt, that no one plays. Geralt is a 12-point guy that has all his strength in itself, 12-point gold. So, what John Natalis does, I mean, like, unless this buff can't even target units on the opposing side, just for flexibility. Not sure why you would want that, but can only target on your side. I don't know what the hell would you do this with it. I don't know, maybe try to like save yourself from a burn effect? Still, it is just not run this guy. Do not do that. 3 butterfly spell. Add 2 to all non-gold units in your hand. Only worth it? Well, I believe the idea behind this card is really good. Maybe it's not enough. Like, this is a good combination with Dijkstra. So if you play Dijkstra, then get her, and you play her early in the round. So if you, like, let's say you include Triss, butterfly spell, plus Dijkstra in your deck, and you include a lot of units. And there's a good chance that you're gonna get either Triss or Dijkstra. And what you're gonna do is that you're gonna, well, obviously you wanna play it early as can. When you wanna play it when you have 10 cards in your hand. So you're gonna play it as soon as you can and just get out Triss and start playing some units, really buffed up guys. But will it worth it? How many guys you would buff up? You would buff up because you're throwing away 2 strength, plus you're playing a big gold card. So you're playing like 2 cards for like 3 strength. Then wait, am I just say you're like, I don't know. And the buff needs to really worth it. I don't know. Well, technically you're playing 1 card for 3 strength, because Dijkstra is just automatically gonna play Triss butterfly spell if you don't have it already. So you're like playing, like technically you're thinning your deck a little bit, but also like playing Triss butterfly spell. So you're gonna like buff up at least 6 units. Like 6 units would make her a 15 pointer, or if she just gets played on her own, then like you would at least wanna buff up like 5 units to make it worth the trouble. Wouldn't you? I would say very much yes. So, Kedven the Siege Expert, add 3 strength to each non-gold machine played on your side. Of course, if he gets sniped by a laser, like Ulcer Thunder, then not so much. But I see it. I mean, like, it kind of looks like the Siege deck is a bit slow. I also saw the stream, and the Siege deck looked a bit slow. It just takes a lot of setup. So this is that is the kind of deck that might just get punished by tempo. Your opponent just slamming down a lot of guys, and you can't really tempo out so hard. The Siege deck plays the long game, and this guy is just... But even if... Look at him. He's a 4-strength guy, paid on range row. That means he's just gonna see the fog that spam happen. The range row is the weakest row to go for in the game currently. And he adds 3 strength to each non-gold machine played on your side. So If you play him, he's not worth it. If you play a machine, he's not worth it. If you play another machine, then you just play the 10-point bronze unit that took its effect in free turn. And after that, of course, you might just play more machines and it's just gonna be worth it. As I said, long game might just make it worth it, but still, if the long game is really that important, then it's probably just gonna get sniped. Of course, 4 is a lot more valuable than 3 because a lot of effects do free damage, but a 4-pointer probably needs to get killed by a Lance or Thunder. Anyhow, Taylor, redraw up to 1 card, but you're not discarding your card, you're just redrawing, so you're actually putting back the card. So you're not thinning your deck. I don't know. Maybe? I would say probably not. It's not too valuable, and other than that, as you said, a 10-point silver is garbage, a 12-point is where it gets started, but many of the better silvers are actually give you a lot more than that. So Taylor, I'm like, how valuable is redoing one guy? I mean, like, it is good if you play like something like a Siri. Like, play the Siri. Could you redraw that? I believe you can. Like, it's good if you can redraw a card that like already provides its value. Like an Aquist, you play an Aquist, it triggers, it comes back. Now you have a 6-point silver. What do you do with it? Like, it's crap. You're just gonna throw that back in the deck. So that's it. So for that, it's good. So you get the Nilfgaard effect with a guy. And it could be good if you play specific cards like Siri or Aquist. But just to like try to get rid of a, I don't know, like a bronze to like possibly upgrade it to a silver, I wouldn't recommend it. You wanna look for cards that already like provide their advantage, then they become weaker. And because Siri is cheap, Aquist is not really cheap, but Siri is cheap, and Aquist is a rare as well. This might be a good choice for budgety decks. I know for a fact that I found this guy many times. I don't know how good he will be. I mean, like, his value is based on the cards that already provide their value, then return to your hand, in my opinion. Or maybe like some kind of cards that like you run a very situational card that is just must have in the meta, but sometimes it's just worthless, and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna redraw that. So you just have to see it for yourself. But I would mostly look out for like Siri or something like that. So you like provide your value and just get rid of it. And for that, it would be good. For example, like get rid of a 6-point gold card in exchange for possibly something a lot better. You're gonna get at least 4 points out of that, making at least a 12-pointer. But again, it's a situational, so you gotta weigh that in, because situational cards are a lot more valuable. For example, if you're sending a Cantarella, then she's a 12-point card. You send it in and lost 12 points. But if you play a Treason, which is a situational silver, then you're gonna get back to Cantarella, your opponent's gonna lose 12 points, and Cantar is gonna drop by 6, but also gonna get up by 8. That means your opponent lost 12 points, and you gained 14 points. So the Treason overall did a 26 point swing. So that's a 26-point silver card, which is pretty good, I would say. Compared to that, I mean, that is an example of a situational silver card. Taylor, compared to that, is just complete joke. I don't know. You want to redraw something really good that is already provided its effect. Like, for example, it would be like Kiaran, but of course, Northern Realm doesn't have Kiaran. Like that, but that is a great example. Like, it's worthless on its own. It already provided its value. It's completely worthless. Now you want to get rid of it. So Reinforced Trebuchet. Every turn, remove 1 strength from a random opposing non-gold unit. That's actually not too bad. As far as long game is concerned, actually these suckers, the Cadvany Siege experts, will get really punished by the how's it called? Manticore Venom. So you gotta really watch out for that. So with these reinforced trebuchets and the Cadvany Siege expert in the mix, maybe not the trebuchets, but actually these can get still sniped by the laser. But if you play two of these guys, fully expect to see them die from Manticore Venom. That's what I would expect, at least of all. So this guy takes like at least 4 turns to like 5, at least 5 turns to give its value. Also, it synergizes well with the Siege Expert. But both this guy and at least the Siege Expert pays for it. And actually, this is interesting because you can actually play some weather with it. If you just like put people in the weather, probably it's not gonna be a thing. But like every 1-point pinger is just a lot more scary when you play weather, like because it can just kill people in the weather. Anyway, this is good if you play the long game, but again, it's pretty weak on its own. Like a tempo deck could easily make you just like have like 1 or 2 card disadvantage in the first round if you're just trying to set up these guys. Priscilla, a little bit of nerf. Draw 1 non-gold card face up and 1 non-gold card face down. Play 1 and randomly place the other in your deck. Okay. So a little bit like Stannis. You get a choice between 1 card and another. It makes sense. Priscilla was pretty used. I don't know how popular she will be after this change. Like it's a big thing. Like 1 you see and 1 you do not. That's a big change for sure. It's gonna be a lot harder to get value out of her. I don't know. People may drop her because instead of choosing from 2 cards, basically you get almost the way you see it. For example, you play that the first turn, you draw 2 cards. For simplicity's sake, like say that you get 1 specific card, you get a choice between that, or like 50% chance of your entire deck, like anything from your entire deck. And that's a huge change from like choosing from 2 specific cards. I don't know. She may even like lose popularity like a lot, like not even getting included. Just have to see, because you're technically drawing into a card. Well, she's thinning your deck, but if you're drawing into just a bronze, she's like not that great. She's okay, but she only has 2 strength, so she's like a bronze plus 2 strength. I suppose it's kind of worth it. Like still, she's good. Like okay, fine. If you draw into a gold or a silver, then she's really good. All right. The other thing is that you have to play it, and do you really like playing blind cards? That's a problem. Like for example, if you run like situational cards in your hand, like as you most likely do, like what if one of them is a shackle and your opponent doesn't have anything? Like you're just getting out no value. She would be awkward to run with situational cards, that's for sure. That's why I see that maybe this is gonna be a big thing for her. And unlike Stannis, because when you throw in Stannis, you got a choice between, you got the same choice. 1 you know and 1 you don't, but you don't have to play it right now. You might just choose the 1 you don't, and it might be a situational card, but you don't have to play it right away. But with Priscilla, you gotta play a blind card. Like, okay, I'm just gonna play that. I'm gonna play any card from my deck right now. It's kind of like the Vilgefortz effect. It's basically the Vilgefortz effect. And if you have situational cards in your deck, then it could be bad. You might just like play Vilgefortz and like, oh, Demeritium Bomb. Yeah, that's not so good. Or Leto. oh, I got a Leto? There's nothing to Leto here. So that's just really awkward. I kind of ended up cutting Vilgefortz from my spy deck because it is just because first of all I needed more consistency, and Vilgefortz just sometimes lost me the game. Not always, but sometimes. So what about you, Shani? Looks like she's a little weaker now, and that's 100% justified. Obviously, she's now best used with resurrecting silvers, so that's a plus for Priscilla. She was too widely used. It's just a minor change to like limit her use a little bit. She's still gonna be really really good, especially with very impactful silvers. Anyway, Kyromets. Any row, loyal, disloyal, and set strength of the unit on the right, if not gold, of the unit on the left, if not gold. Now, I think they hit gold with this one. This is possibly my favorite card, followed by Kahir in this patch, at least from what I know. I mean, this is just a very, very interesting effect that can be played on any row. So you can just like, your opponent might have a really buffed up guy, and you just like, okay, but he has a really, like, a weakling next to it. And you just swing. For example, your opponent has a, I don't know, like a 20-point Ancient Foglet, but has a Foglet next to it. And you just send in Keira, change their strength, and, I don't know, clear sky or something like that. Oh no, actually not like that. Not like that at all, actually, I kind of messed it up. If, for example, your opponent has a big Foglet, and has a big Ancient Foglet, and just a regular Foglet next to it, you can just make the big Ancient Foglet has the same strength as the regular Foglet. It's just crazy. I believe the applications for this card is just out of this world. And especially you can also buff up guys on your side. So I would be very, very surprised if she didn't see a lot of use. Extremely surprised. I mean, like, only problem that she's a legendary, but she's good to disrupt your enemy strategy and to set up your strategy. You can just copy a buff guy. Only problem is that copying buff guy currently is a bit of a gamble, because the burn effects burn 2 guys down, and I suspect that will change in the future. But for now, it's a bit of a gamble. So you might wanna just just be careful by copying like a 30 strength guy to another 30 strength guy, because they might just get like a 2 strength guy, because they just gonna get burned at the same time. And Keira didn't do a whole lot, but her strength is not worthless on its own, so she's just too good. Like, she's just really, really fun, and just like makes you think about the game differently. So this is the kind of card that I believe Northern Realm really needs, because it used to be such a passive faction. Some factions are very passive, just doing their own thing, and that is the playstyle of some players. But not necessarily. But I believe this not necessarily should be tied to factions, because some factions like the Monsters, the Nilfgaard, are just very aggressive, and I love them for it. Skoyata is pretty tricky and aggressive too, but like the Northern Realm and Skellige are fairly passive, and this just kind of like a little bit changes that, and I love that. So Berna got a little weaker, and well, in a way better, because it's like 2 less points she gives away, but she only draws 3 cards and discards only 1. So that's is it a nerf or a buff? Who knows? But should make it harder for the Skellige to dig through their whole deck. Damn, Donar, he hits like a truck. 13 points, and it also goes up. This is not the guy you want to see. Immune to weather, draw a card, you may keep it or discard it and draw another. Oh man. Also, his effect changed from draw a card, you may keep it, or discard then draw another. So you only get a discard effect if you choose to not keep the card, and you're gonna discard that card. But if you draw into a card that's already pretty good for you, then yeah. Then you're not gonna get a discard effect whatsoever. So they're just making the thinning a little bit weaker here. And I suppose that makes a lot of sense. Because they're a little bit too easy. Wild Boar of the Sea. Remove 3 strength from a non-god unit, then 2 from a... yeah, 2 from a non-god unit and 1 from a non-god unit. This is really boring. I mean, like, this is the... Okay, you might run this because it's an epic. You're just looking for a generous card. And it's not too bad for a generous card. Like, he's single-handedly just better than Jorvet, Triss, and Vernal Roche right now. He's single-handedly better. Like, the Wild Boar of the Sea and Drog are now the reigning champions of doing some effects, but is it really what you want to see from the Wild Boar of the Sea? I don't know. I wouldn't want to see this. Like, yes, it's kind of boring. I mean, like, yes, Jorvet and I just don't know. I mean, like, as bad his effect was earlier, it was at least different. Like, I do want to see that. I just do want to see them, like, going with that direction. Maybe not with that direction, but, like, some kind of a direction other than just, like, hey, just do some damage. Like, that's just, like, you know, I believe the gold card should be a little bit more than that. But still, this card is just straight up better than Jorvet and Vernal Roche and Triss. And it cannot be even argued. Because he can just choose to do 3 and 2 and 1 to the same target even. So he's just, well, the best example is Jorvet. He can only go with 1. He can only do damage to 1 unit, 6 damage to 1 unit, but he can just do the same thing, but also has the flexibility to spread out his damage. So suppose maybe they are in different factions and whatnot, but it's just straight up better. I don't know. Restore? Yeah. No permadeath. So no resurrecting Sigdrifa anymore. Makes sense. Like, makes a lot of sense in this faction. The Sigdrifa, resurrecting permadeath plus restore resurrecting permadeath was a bit cheesy, to be fair. It makes 100% sense, so like, there's nothing to really talk about here. The Dinky Ship got a little bit weaker with 1 point. You move true strength from random boosting non-god unit whenever you discard a unit. Wow, got a lot weaker. It actually also did damage when a unit died on your board, and that was just ridiculous. So this was the Mango Note 20.0. But now, not anymore. It's more reasonable. I'm pretty sure that it will not even get run because that will be an overreaction. And not only you can discard less now, but these things are fairly weak, and this is definitely not what you want to draw into later. I would say these things are dead. Probably I don't know. They were really good. But with less discards happening, I mean, I don't think this is the problem. I believe King Bran's hero power is the problem. That hero power is just ridiculous. It needs to be something instead of that. And as far as I know, they didn't do anything to King Bran's hero power. And that is the best faction ability in the game, bar none. Like, that is without a doubt. If other factions could choose that ability, they would probably do that. Well, not really with those units, but King Bran can just throw like a Morgvarg and like two guys on the board. Like, puts down like 16 power on the board right away, plus thin his deck by 3 cards, plus synergizes with some units. I mean, like, just sign me up for that. That's just crazy. I don't think the War Longship was the crazy one. It's King Bran. And no, this wrong unit got the maybe the units dying part. But this ship should easily stay at 5. King Baron should get changed to like discard 2 bronze units from your deck, something like that. That would be completely fine, in my opinion. That would thin your deck. Like for example, you can just use it to put in like the Onion Head guys, the Clan Tursuch skirmishers in the graveyard, or just put down those Clan and Crate Raiders, something like that. So you can just put down 10 strength on the board and thin your deck by 2 cards. That would be okay, in my opinion. But who knows? That would be fine. Anyway, maybe not as impactful though. But still. I really don't think that discarding silvers is a good idea. Like, at best, discard 3 bronzes? Or maybe something else. Maybe discard at random. Either discard 3 bronzes at random, or just discard 2 bronzes intentionally. But discarding 3 non-golds intentionally? Like, come on, give me a break. Udarek, resurrect a random non-gold, non-permadeath card from the opposing graveyard. Isn't this the same thing? That's kind of a good card. I mean, like, not really. Just kind of shows that how good the other cards are in the faction, that it's not even getting run. Anyway, as far as I know, this is kind of it for now. Not bad. Not bad at all. That's it. Mute opponent. I need to do that. Geralt, shut the fuck up. So that's it. We got the big to-do to end it. We can just use our swagger. And wow, that's a long video. Damn it. That's a lot of talk about this. I suppose I had to. And never mind that. That's it, guys. Hope you had fun. And I would check out the proper patch change log when it comes out. Probably. Like, when it really comes out. I would rather give this is more of an initial impression, so. I know they are still changing the values, but I definitely like where the patch is heading, and it's gonna be fun. I just love it. Every time the game changes, I'm just like, sign me up for that. I will live for that. Like, I know some people are just like, oh, I can't take the changes. I don't like the changes. Like, no, don't do that. But I just live for the changes. Like, I'm not one of those players who just like, yeah, I'm just like, play my cheesy deck like for like hundreds of hours. I'm just like, I live for the changing meta, and they are really trying to make this complex and interesting game, and I fully approve of that. Anyhow, that's it, guys. Hope you had fun, and see you around. And if you had fun, just tell me if you had fun, because I need the feedback. But see you around, and have a good one, guys.